February 3rd, 1943. Bath Iron Works, Slipway No. 2. 2:14 a.m. The shipyard is alive in the darkness. Floodlights blaze across the skeletal frame of the destroyer like a battlefield illuminated by flares. Steam rises in thick columns from the warm interiors of the sheds, rolling out into the cold night air. Snow lies in slush-covered patches along the catwalks, packed down by hundreds of boots. And above it all, the sound, an industrial symphony of welders crackling, cranes rumbling, riveters pounding in rhythmic bursts, and foremen calling out orders like artillery officers adjusting fire. Tonight is different, though. Tonight, the ship is growing fast. Unit 14 is already bolted to the hull. Unit 6, the forward boiler room, awaits installation. 2 other units move into position on giant tractors, each with their own escort of men guiding wheels, cables, alignment jigs. Carlton watches from a steel platform near the keel. His coat is dusted with snow, his breath visible in the cold, and his eyes sharp as he monitors every movement. Shadows shift across the towering hull as cranes swing overhead, carrying yet another modular block. Unit 22, the midship ammunition storage compartment. This one is heavy, packed with shock-mounted racks, reinforced bulkheads, ventilation ducts, and wiring harnesses pre-tested in the shed. Peterson stands beside him, clipboard in hand. "You know, Ernie, at this rate, we'll have the entire center section done in 48 hours. Carlton doesn't look away from the lift. "That's the plan." Peterson glances through his notes. "Kaiser will hear about this." Carlton shrugs. "He'll either be impressed or terrified." Peterson smirks. "Or both." Below them, workers move like a coordinated machine, calling distances, checking clearances, guiding the swinging unit with practiced precision. "Hold, hold," a foreman yells. "Bring her 3 degrees port. Easy, easy." The crane adjusts. The massive steel block floats toward the hull like a leviathan coming home. Carlton studies the operation with the eye of a battlefield commander. No wasted motion, no delays between shifts, no lost hours scrambling for tools or waiting for material deliveries. He built a factory inside a shipyard, and now the factory is winning. A welder approaches Carlton, helmet tucked under his arm. "Mr. Carlton," he says, "the men want to show you something when this unit's set. They've been working on it since last night." Carlton arches an eyebrow. "What is it?" The welder winks. "You'll see." He jogs off before Carlton can question him further. March 1st, 1943. Bath Iron Works, Prefab Shed No. 1. 7:30 a.m. A month has passed. A month that feels like a year. The shipyard's transformation is complete. Inside Prefab Shed No. 1, workers file between massive units lined up like dominoes. Each block is nearly finished, painted, wired, sealed, inspected. Crew lockers are installed. Ammunition hoists are greased. Piping runs glitter under work lights. A machinist leans close to a steam line, testing pressure. A draftsman checks off welding stamps. A pipe fitter signs the 3rd log entry of the shift, indicating everything matches the schematics. Carlton walks through the rows, his boots echoing on the concrete. He stops at Unit 31, engine room controls. A complicated piece, gauges, Wheels, manometers, a forest of pipes and conduit. A young woman from the electrical crew looks up from a wiring junction. "Morning, Mr. Carlton." He nods. "How's she coming?" "Better than the last one. We shaved 8 hours off." She grins. "Again." Carlton almost smiles. The workers are no longer skeptical. They're competitive. Peterson enters from the far side, waving a sheet of paper. "Ernie, the Navy's bureau just sent word. They want to know if the reports are real." "Which reports?" "That we're on track to assemble a Fletcher in less than 2 weeks. Carlton wipes a hand across the cold steel. "Tell them no." Peterson frowns. "No?" Carlton turns toward the long row of finished units. "Tell them we're aiming for 10 days. March 6th, 1943. Slipway number 2. 5:02 p.m. Freezing rain lashes the shipyard, bouncing off the destroyer's hull like hail against a cathedral. The men work through it, slickers shining under the storm lights. A tractor grinds forward, hauling Unit 31 toward the slip. Welders brace ladders. Riggers pull cables taut. Foremen shout over the rain. A roar from the crane drowns them out as the massive hook descends. Carlton stands near the bow, drenched, water streaming off his coat. Peterson shields a set of blueprints with his body. Bascom appears beside them, also soaked. "You're a madman, Ernie," Bascom shouts over the storm. "We should have shut down hours ago." Carlton shakes the water off his face. "The war doesn't shut down, Tom. Neither do we." Bascom glares at him, then slowly nods. "Fair enough." The crane lifts Unit 31. Rain batters the steel. Workers guide it upward, drenched but undeterred. At last, the unit slots neatly into the hull, locking into place with a booming metallic thud. A cheer rises across the yard, even through the storm. Peterson looks at Carlton, rain dripping from his cap. "That's the final piece of the center section." Carlton exhales softly. "Then we're nearly there." He watches the men below, soaked to the bone, still working with the urgency of front-line soldiers. 10 days, he murmurs. "Hell, we might beat that." Somewhere far across the world, across storms, across oceans, across burning seas, a U.S. destroyer desperately needs its sisters. And for the first time, Bath Iron Works is ready to answer the call faster than anyone ever believed possible. March 10th, 1943. Bath Iron Works, Slipway number 2, 4:18 a.m. The destroyer stands larger than life now, its once skeletal frame transformed into a towering, coherent warship. The bow stretches into the darkness like the blade of a giant knife. The deck plates ring under the boots of workers as they rush across its surface, checking, tightening, marking off final weld inspections. Floodlights blast the hull in blinding white. The storm has passed, leaving a biting cold in its wake, but the shipyard remains awake, alive, relentless. Carlton walks along the keel line, head tilted back to admire the work. His breath clouds in the frigid air as he runs a gloved hand along a newly welded seam, smooth, clean, flawless. Behind him, Bascom trudges through the half-frozen mud, coffee steaming in his hand. "You realize," Bascom says, "nobody's gonna believe this unless we take a picture." Carlton doesn't look away from the hull. "They'll believe it when they see her at sea trials," Bascom snorts. "At this rate, that'll be before Washington even signs the inspection forms." Carlton turns, fixing him with a rare grin. Wouldn't that be something? 6:02 a.m. Dawn breaks over the Kennebec River, casting a warm orange glow against the grey hull. The shipyard bell rings across the property, signaling shift change. Except the line between shifts no longer feels like a pause. It feels like a baton pass. Workers from the night crew step aside, handing off clipboards and status logs to the fresh arrivals who swarm on board the destroyer with barely a moment's hesitation. Pipe fitters, electricians, welders, engineers, riggers, all moving with the practiced choreography born from Carlton's new system. Peterson climbs up the ladder to the main deck, waving a stack of papers like a man clinging to a life raft. "Ernie, the inspection team from the Navy will be here tomorrow." Carlton keeps walking, boots ringing on steel. "Good, we'll be ready." Peterson stops in his tracks. "How can you possibly know that?" Carlton turns and points toward the ship. "Because the ship is ready." He looks at the foreman working along the catwalk. "Where's Unit 31's status?" "All green," a man shouts. "And Unit 9's auxiliary systems." "Final tests finishing now," a welder calls down from the forward deck. "Bulkhead inspections complete." Carlton nods once, satisfied. Peterson flips through his papers, exasperated. This is insane. 3 weeks ago, this hull was naked. Bare frame. You've assembled half a destroyer since then. "More than half," Carlton corrects. "The superstructure's next." Peterson's mouth opens, then closes. He's run out of objections. March 12th, 1943. Bath Iron Works. Assembly of the superstructure. 1:40 p.m. The sound of a dozen cranes echoes across the yard as the superstructure modules, bridge, wheelhouse, mast base, funnel sections are brought out in sequence, each one already painted, wired, and inspected. Peterson stands beside Carlton on a high platform overlooking the slip. Below, workers guide the bridge structure into place. It glides through the air with quiet precision, sunlight glinting off the windows. "That's the last major block," Peterson says, hardly believing the words. Carlton checks his watch. "And 2 days ahead of schedule." Peterson's voice drops to a whisper. "You really did it." "No," Carlton replies quietly. "We did." The block settles onto its alignment rails, and a foreman gives a sharp whistle. "It's seated." The yard erupts in applause. A ship that should have taken 4 to 5 months now stands almost complete in just over 10 days of active assembly. March 14th, 1943. Bath Iron Works, Riverfront Inspection Point. 8 a.m. A contingent of Navy officers arrives, stepping out of 2 staff cars onto the icy ground. Commander Lewis Hartwell, Bureau of Ships Inspector, Lieutenant Amelia Hayes, Logistics Officer, and 2 engineering aides. Hartwell removes his gloves and examines the destroyer, towering over the riverfront. "This can't be right," he says. "This ship wasn't here 2 weeks ago." Carlton steps forward, extending a hand. "It was here, Commander. Just not like this." Hartwell shakes his hand with suspicion. "We've seen the reports. Prefabrication, modular hull sections, continuous shifts. If your paperwork is accurate, you've done something unprecedented." Carlton nods. "I hope so." Hayes flips through her clipboard. "Is this the first modular destroyer in U.S. history?" Carlton simply answers, "It won't be the last." Hartwell circles the hull, eyes tight with scrutiny. He knocks on a weld seam, checks plating transitions, inspects rivet patterns and mount slits. Finally, he lowers his hands. "I don't know whether to congratulate you or accuse you of sorcery." Peterson chuckles behind him. No magic here, Commander. Just a shipyard that stopped working the old way. Hartwell turns to Carlton. You realize if this passes sea trials, you've changed naval construction. Completely. Carlton looks at the destroyer, its decks populated with crews performing final checks. We didn't do this for records, he says softly. We did it for sailors who need these ships yesterday. Hartwell nods slowly. Then let's see if she's worthy of them. Behind him, the shipyard teams prepare to launch the destroyer, days ahead of even the most optimistic projections. Steam plumes from the boilers warming for the first time. Cables strain as final equipment is hoisted aboard. Crewmen in crisp uniforms gather on the gangway. Somewhere in the Pacific, destroyers fight furnace-hot battles against aircraft, submarines, and relentless seas. And now, finally, help is on the way. Born in a snowy Maine shipyard, forged by a workforce transformed by innovation, and launched with a speed no one in the Navy had ever imagined possible.